Hello, Seattle. Today we are going to be breaking down Ben Williamson and why the Mariners' third base position needs to be either him or Colt Emerson, and nobody else should touch it. Starting out, we're 85 days till opening day, 63 till the World Baseball Classic, 51 till spring training games, 41 till pitchers and catchers report. It's New Year's Eve, bringing you guys this video, but getting into it, one of the biggest stories this offseason has been the debate surrounding third base for the Mariners. They had Williamson, 85 games, Gino played 53 games, Miles Mastrobuoni played 27 games, Dylan Moore played 16, and Jorge Polanco played 5 games there last season, as well as Leo Rivas and Donovan Solano at 2 apiece. But despite playing over half the games there in 2025 and being arguably the best of all the options there, fans doubt his stability at the position entering 2026. Third base was one of the biggest questions entering this offseason and remains that way when not considering Ben Williamson as the bona fide answer. Fans are asking questions like, do they acquire an impact back there? Does Colt Emerson win the job out of spring training? What other options are there? Before we celebrate New Year's, enter 2026, I wanted to profile my favorite Mariner, which you'll know if you've been following this channel for a while, and explain why these were the reports coming out on this situation in December. From MLB trade rumors, the Mariners not active in pursuing third base help. After re-signing Josh Naylor, the next step on the Mariners' to-do list is a reunion with Jorge Polanco. Didn't happen. The intent of utilizing the veteran infielder as second baseman, part-time DH. Seattle's also been linked to such second base trade targets as Brendan Donovan, old friend Ketel Marte, though the focus on the Keystone is noteworthy. When it comes to checking in at the hot corner, Seattle Times Adam Jude hears from sources that the Mariners are not active in the third base market. That's the reports coming out of the organization. The Mariners are not active in the third base market. We've seen that talk die down, but I think it completely doesn't make sense for the Mariners to go out and acquire a third baseman. And now I've finally done the research and can profile to you why Ben Williamson is my favorite Mariner right now, why I think he's a vital part of this team in 2026, and why you either go with him or Colt Emerson. He's the safe play. Colt Emerson is the upside play. And there's no point in looking at options in between. So, getting on to Ben Williamson, the case for begins with his defense. He is the best defensive third baseman in baseball, or at least close to it. Now, Morosi on 710 earlier this week said, and this was actually last week, I believe, with the Ref Snyder signing, he said that he's one of the best defensive third basemen on the planet. At least that's how sources within the Mariners organization have spoke about him to Morosi. I've been saying this since last year, not saying this as an I told you so thing, but it's been apparent to me if you watch this guy play, you'll see that he does things that other defensive third basemen just don't do. Baseball Savant says 53rd percentile fielding run value, but if you watch him, you'll see why he's way better. And you go to his scouting report, which we're going to look at in a minute. His instincts are elite, and I think some of the best I've ever seen at the position. Now, the other part of this equation, which I absolutely love, which I've been speaking about these two things ad nauseum since last year throughout the season. He is an absolute pest on offense. He is a player that pitchers hate playing against. And now, I was looking for a stat because I say all the time on this channel, if you've been following me, Ben Williamson fouls off pitches like crazy, which gets the opposing starter's pitch count up, and which gives the protection necessary to guys in the lineup like Cal, Julio, Naylor, or big three hitters who love to swing early and often when they get their pitch. But what that can result in is if those guys go 0 for 2, then all of a sudden the opposing starting pitcher is on his third time through the lineup, and we're in the fourth, fifth inning. He's getting through with less than 10 pitches per inning and on pace to pitch the entire game in less than 100 pitches. Ben Williamson is the answer against this. And so the stat that I found is pitches per plate appearance. Ben Williamson recorded 4.12 pitches per plate appearance in 2025, which ranks 128th out of 674 players who took a plate appearance in 2025. Now, he didn't qualify because he only played the 85 games, but if he qualified, which he had 295 plate appearances, need about 503 to qualify in a given year, about 3 for each of the each of the team's games that year. He would rank 23rd out of 147 qualified hitters. Now, this is extremely high, and I love this stat now. This has become one of my favorite stats while researching this video over the last week, because you will see guys at the top that are extremely good hitters. You'll see guys at the bottom that are extremely good hitters, and in the middle. You'll also see bad hitters throughout this list. This does not show you just how good a hitter is, but it shows you what their approach is. And hitters have different approaches. Now, if you go to the bottom of the qualified hitters, in like the last 7 guys, I think Josh Naylor's like 2 or 3 from the bottom. He swings early and often when he gets his pitch because he's such a good hitter, he can drive it back up the middle. Julio is like 7 from the bottom because, when he gets his pitch, no point in worrying about taking this at bat, making it long for him, right? It's about getting his pitch and then driving it and using the hit tool. But for Ben Williamson, it's completely different than those guys. And you don't need a lineup full of Julios and Josh Naylors. It's actually maybe not the best strategy when you're trying to win baseball games. So this is also a clear Mariners mark. I wore this shirt, the CS Rise shirt, because this was the Control the Zone team, the Chaos Ball team. And the Control the Zone teams and Chaos Ball teams of 2020 and 2021, while they didn't win a whole lot of games, they did completely change this organization around from Robinson Cano and Nelson Cruz to, now we've got guys who are just fouling off pitches, making this team hard to play against. Maybe not the most formidable team in terms of power, in terms of offensive output, in terms of xWOBA and most of the modern offensive statistics, but made him extremely hard to play against because you can throw out your great pitcher. We're just going to foul off the pitches until we can get him out of the game and then face whoever else. We're just going to make these at-bats really long. Now, the other 2 guys who I think encapsulate this approach that are going to be on the roster this year, J.P. Crawford, number 1. Now, he does qualify, having played pretty much every day at shortstop, and he's 17th out of 147 qualifiers at 4.16 pitches per plate appearance. Ben Williamson, 4.12. You look at Leo Rivas. Out of everybody who took a pitch in the majors this year, 674 players, he was actually 8th out of 674, and he was the top one that had 100 plate appearances or more. I think he had 111. So there's a clear Mariners mark if you want guys that control the zone. That was the organizational philosophy that started when they developed the current hitters. Now, you don't see that as much when you talk about Cal, Julio, Naylor, right? Cal and Julio having come up through the organization. But you see it, in a lot of the guys that have gone now. Shed Long, Dylan Moore. I could go on and on. But the 2 that I want to mention the most that are comps for Ben Williamson, Jose Caballero and Jake Fraley. Those guys were both absolute pests at the plate. They would foul off pitches like crazy. They were hard to play against. Even if they were not the best players, and eventually the Mariners kind of let them go without really getting a whole lot in return. Jake Fraley was a throw-in in a trade to the Reds for Luis Castillo. And Jose Caballero was in that trade to the Rays. I forget exactly which trade to the Rays it was. But these guys both have had roles on playoff teams in the last couple of years. Jose Caballero making a difference for the Yankees in this past one. And Jake Fraley being a guy that continues to get major league deals. Now he's on the Rays. These guys are going to have 10-year major league careers. And they don't show up in the StatCast. But they do the things that let the other guys who show up in the StatCast play the way they need to play. And Ben Williamson is that guy. I think that he is better than those guys too, especially because of his defense. But I think Ben Williamson can be the control the zone guy for the future of this lineup. And J.P. Crawford, we talk about him last year on his deal in 2026. After that, who's going to be the guy that makes the at-bats long? When the offense is slumping, you need that guy. Fangraphs projections also expects him to make big jumps in statistics in 2026 from 2025, right? They have him marked down for the same batting average. They have him playing less games, which I don't agree with. I think he's going to play close to 140 or so games. I see him playing every day for this team, depending on what happens with Colt Emerson. And we're going to get to that in a second. But, they have him with the same average, more homers, higher OBP, higher slug, higher WOBA, way higher WRC plus. If he puts up a 94 WRC plus, I would absolutely take that along with everything he does that doesn't show up in the statistics. And then a higher WAR, which we're going to get to the difference between Fangraphs WAR, how they hate him. Baseball Reference WAR loves him in a minute as well. 69th percentile sprint speed. He's pretty fast, top 2/3 of the major leagues. He's a good base, he's a plus base runner. And then his spray chart shows an all fields approach. And his scouting report back when he was in the minors in 2024 mentioned a flat level swing. So we're going to look at this spray chart. Look how many singles that he's hitting into the opposite field. I mean, there's a whole lot right up the middle, right? You see his doubles. He has just like 5 doubles to the opposite field, plus one right there, right? He has a ton of doubles down the line to the pull side. Look at that. Then he only has 2 doubles where he's really hitting the power alleys. But again, you don't need everybody in your lineup to do that. The Mariners have guys to do that. And we're going to get to comparing him and Gino Suarez too, and why he was a much better fit for this team baseball-wise than Gino Suarez. Now, Baseball Reference WAR, B-WAR, loves him. The difference between Baseball Reference WAR and Fangraphs WAR, B-WAR, weights the defensive statistics based on outcomes. So they give more credence to things like, straight up batting average too, I think, on the hitting side. The hitting side, as I understand it, is a little more similar, but defensively, Baseball Reference WAR gives a lot of credit for defensive runs saved, whereas Fangraphs WAR gives a lot of credit for ultimate zone rating. They use the StatCast stuff on Fangraphs, whereas Baseball Reference use the outcome-based stuff. And Baseball Reference WAR loves him. Just to compare him to a guy that a lot of Mariners fans want a whole lot, right, to cover different positions and things. Brendan Donovan, 2.7 WAR in 118 games. That's 43.7 games per WAR. And Ben Williamson, 1.3 WAR in 85 games. That's 65.4 games per WAR. And this was in Donovan's All-Star year versus Ben's first taste of the bigs. I think Ben's going to get better. I don't know if Donovan, I think what people are hoping for is that he just is a consistent, steady force in that, 43.7 games per WAR. I think Ben Williamson can even improve from this. Basic defensive metrics love Ben's defense. When you look at, how many defensive runs is he actually saving? And then perhaps the biggest reason why you just roll with Ben Williamson and why he's awesome is he does not block Colt Emerson. Colt Emerson can win the job out of spring training, and Ben Williamson can go ahead and sit on the bench, can even start the year in AAA Tacoma. But he's the perfect glue guy. I hope you realize as I keep going through this stuff. And we have a lot more to get to as well. But also, when you have the chance to have a Colt Emerson level ceiling type of player in your lineup, and he's showing that he's raised his floor to the level where you can feel comfortable putting him in the big leagues before he's even of legal drinking age, at that point, you could go ahead and start your blue chip prospect and keep his value as high as it's ever going to get and let it ascend. He does not block Colt Emerson. If you go out and re-sign a Gino Suarez, if you go out and get a third baseman this offseason, you're blocking Colt Emerson. So there was never a chance of getting a third base option for the Mariners, because why would you block Colt Emerson? Yeah, I talked about Okamoto a little bit. Now, especially once you re-sign Naylor, it makes it pretty unlikely you're going to do that. But once you fill out your DH platoon of Canzone and Refsnyder, there's really no point in looking at an Okamoto. I really don't see the space for another hitter in this lineup unless you're willing to block all the prospects, throw the glue guys away, sell out for power, which, the Mariners did that with Gino Suarez, and I'm not sure that it made the team better from a baseball perspective. I know it made the team better in the clubhouse. There's no doubt about that. Gino Suarez, all-time clubhouse guy. But when we're talking about the baseball, this is what makes sense. Now, we're going to go to the case against him. The biggest case against him is that his profile doesn't show either of the obvious offensive tools. You can either hit for power or hit for average, and Ben Williamson does not show either of those things in an obvious light. All of his expected offensive statistics are really low. And before we get to that, also Fangraphs WAR hates him. So, we go back up here, right? Brendan Donovan, 3 WAR over 118 games, whereas Ben Williamson, 0.4 WAR over 85 games. So Brendan Donovan is a little bit higher in the F WAR than he is in the B WAR, but Ben Williamson drops all the way from 1.3 to 0.4, less than a third of the Baseball Reference WAR he had. So advanced defensive metrics hate Williams' defense, while basic defensive metrics love his defense. Again, this is a guy who has some great instincts, and we're going to go through this scouting report, then we're going to go back to the what we said about his defense at the beginning. This is the scouting report from MLB Pipeline, which tells you who he is as a player. Because he went to a smaller school, and he doesn't necessarily possess big-time power at a run-producing position, the third baseman has flown a bit under the radar. He's hit over power with good contact ability to all fields, from this spray chart. He does so with a more flat, right-handed swing, which could be why he's not gotten the ball in the air as consistently yet. But exit velocity readings have suggested that he could grow into the power in the 12 to 15 homer range. I know what you're thinking. How much good does 12 to 15 homers really do you? And I agree. It's his glove that could carry him, though. He's a plus defender at the hot corner who will prevent runs for whatever pitching staff he plays behind, and he can even move to shortstop when needed. His success is rooted in his body being in sync, having the instincts to read tough hops to go along with above average arm strength. So going back just a little bit, right? The flat right-handed swing with good contact ability to all fields, right? You see the all fields approach here, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. And then we talk about the flat swing. Actually, then we go back to the scouting report saying his defensive instincts are elite. That explains why the basic defensive metrics love his defense because he's saving runs, but the advanced defensive metrics hate his defense because they can't read his instincts. Now, moving on, right? He has a light bat. He won't hit many homers. He's unlikely to go high on batting average, and you see his baseball savant percentiles. So we're not going to hide from these. You see that it's a whole bunch of blue. He doesn't look like a guy who's producing offensively at a high clip. Expected batting average, WOBA, expected slug, and usually I'm all over the baseball savant stuff. You know, I was using baseball savant as my main source to recap every single game in 2025. But I keep watching, and I'm like, this guy, Ben Williamson, has a different approach that's just not showing up here. His launch angle of 3.1 is way below the league average of 12.4. Now, but I think this could be a sign of a different approach. And remember, what did they say? Flat swing. A flat swing could be why he's not getting the ball in the air consistently yet. Yeah, he could go into the 12 to 15 homer range. But what about this other offensive approach that we were talking about earlier with the pitches per plate appearance? I know I'm skipping around a little bit, but bear with me. It's not just inability to elevate. It is a completely different approach. His max exit velocity of 59th percentile shows ability to generate power. He's just more valuable being a scrapper at the plate. Now, also going to the pitch values, which I've been using on Fangraphs quite a bit recently. He has negative pitch values against the four seam, cutter, sinker, slider, knuckle curve, and he only positive versus the splitter, curve, and changeup, which you don't have to look too deep into each of these because he is trying to foul off a lot of pitches. He's not exactly trying to drive the ball, elevate the ball on any of these pitches necessarily, but splitter, curve, and changeup, those are 3 tough pitchers for the Mariners lineup. They absolutely crushed us last year, and I would love to have somebody who was positive against those in his first 85 Major League games and could even improve. Now, this is a fair argument, right? To say that he has a light bat, he doesn't have any obvious offensive tools. But then I think, I was also looking at not just pitches per plate appearance, but pitch tempo, which is another one of my new favorite stats. Because it's not obvious. There's good hitters all throughout the list, at the top, bottom, in the middle. But the pitch tempo stats show part of the story here. So Ben Williamson's pitch tempo, here's the grab from Baseball Savant. Now, with the bases empty, Ben Williamson had a 15.6 second average pitch tempo. That ranks 259th out of 665 players who saw a pitch with the bases empty in 2025, and it would rank between 99th and 129th out of 350 qualifiers. If you look at the leaderboard, they only go to 1 decimal point, so there's a whole lot of 18.4s, or 15.6s, and they're sorted in a way where they're not all tied, right? They're not all 99th. They're 99th, 100th, because there is more decimal points, but they're only showing us one decimal point. Anyway, JP is right around the same place. He's 214th out of the 665, and he's 92nd out of the 350 qualifiers. So, I mean, Ben Williamson is right around where JP is, right? And that it kind of shows you you're starting to see maybe there's a similar approach going on between Ben Williamson and JP Crawford. Fouling off pitches, making the at-bats hard. I mean, you're starting to see something there. Then Rivas, who we also were comparing, he takes the similar approach at the plate. He was way down there at 506th out of 665 players with 16.1 seconds. So Rivas, being the outlier there in terms of the control of the zone approach. But Williamson and JP very, very similar in that regard. Now with runners on base, and also the thing here to note is that the pitcher, I'm going to show you kind of exactly why we're looking at this in a second. With runners on base, Ben Williamson, 18.4 second average pitch tempo. It goes up because as, runners get on base, pitchers take their time, they want to execute harder. They don't want to just rush through the at-bat and give up a mistake. They're more cautious. That ranks 257th out of 665 players, which is almost exactly where he ranked with the bases empty. He would also rank between 98th and 129th out of 350 qualifiers. That's the range which had 18.4 seconds as their first decimal place, which is kind of strikingly similar, but bear with me. JP, 248th, had the exact same to the first decimal place. That would rank 107th out of the qualifiers. So getting a higher pitch tempo here. Both Ben Williamson and JP Crawford. Leo Rivas, again, a little bit further back, 335th out of the 665. Just, 2 fractions of a second. 0.2 seconds on average higher. Now, the thing is, to show something close to JP Crawford's level of toying with pitchers as a rookie is astonishing. This is something the Mariners lineup has needed for the past almost 10 years now, and it's something the Mariners lineup is going to need going forward. And a quick side note, Samad Taylor is 1st and 5th in quickest with both bases empty and runners on base. So it's no wonder the Mariners won't trust him over Rivas, as he doesn't, despite him having a bigger speed tool, certain other things, he doesn't fit their preferred approach. Also, Rivas being a switch hitter, Anyway, pitchers got less scared of Ben's lighter bat and started pounding him with pitches. They started going much quicker to him than they did to the other hitters in the Mariners lineup. As that's pretty easy to understand, right? Okay, Ben Williamson is up. We're going to breeze through this at bat. We're just going to toss these pitches. He kept fouling them off. So the pitchers get annoyed, and then they kept pumping him in. Man, why can't I get this guy out, right? Let me just get this guy out. He's not that good of a hitter. Let me just execute my pitch and get this guy out. Before you know it, he's driven the pitch count up by 15 in his first 2 at-bats. This protects Cal and Julio's aggressive attitude early in counts. Now, Randy began to take up this mantle when Ben went back down to the minors, and just over the course of the season became a very measured hitter. He's also going for walks. JP is the constant force of this. But, when Ben was sent back down, Randy kind of took it up as well. Ben elevates the offense's floor and ceiling by playing a non-starring role so the stars have more room to be good. When he goes 0 for 2, but has taken 15 pitches off the opposing ace halfway through opening day, he'll still be protecting Cal, Julio, and Naylor. And just look what happened when you replaced him with Suarez last year. Geno and T-Mobile Park's dimensions and climate are an awful match. This is getting pretty widespread known. I think, Justin Hollander said we would be open to a reunion with him. You, of course, are going to be open to a reunion with one of the best clubhouse presences in the history of the franchise. But as an actual baseball fit, does he make sense? No. Now, with Geno, well, Geno's not the type of righty that you want in T-Mobile Park. This might just be the type of righty that can hit in T-Mobile Park. You go back to the sprite chart, this guy's hitting doubles down the line. This guy's hitting, singles the opposite way. This guy's doing a whole lot of things that you are not seeing from other right-handed hitters in T-Mobile Park. And not everybody's going to be Julio Rodriguez. I mean, even Eugenio Suarez, who has light tower power, is really struggled here. I mean, his stats in T-Mobile Park, he has like a 211 batting average, not that many homers. He's like a little under 750 OPS, I think. He's much, much better when he's playing in a hot climate like Arizona, Cincinnati, stuff like that. And I was saying this before we acquired him. I was, saying this now. We've tried the Geno thing twice now. I just don't think that we would try it for a third time. But anyway, this might just be the type of righty that can hit in T-Mobile Park. Is he worth riding with? In my humble opinion, absolutely. He is the last bastion of the control the zone philosophy in its purest form. It's a bad team trick, having a control the zone guy, fouling off all these pitches. But it's also one that good teams get desperate for. Every time we're in a slump, oh man, I can't wait till JP comes up so that he can start fouling off pitches and get the offense a little bit of breathing room. Just think back to 2023's volatile offense that included Teo and Geno with a rough Julio and Cal. They were still rough around the edges, still a little bit younger. They had rough seasons. And you had all these, big, tall, you had all 6 foot plus athletic hitters, but no scrappiness at all. And Ty France also struggled. That broke up the playoff possibilities that year. Even though, we almost made the playoffs, game 161, to the Rangers during that game, and, another team winning eliminates us. Ben Williamson will keep this lineup consistent even without putting up stats of his own. It won't show up in StatCast, and fans will be clamoring against it. Fans are going to be posting this StatCast page. They're going to be saying, man, we need a third baseman, get Ben Williamson out of the lineup. But that does not matter. The goal of third base is to accent the rest of this team. It's not a building block. At least until you have Colt Emerson. It's a puzzle piece that fits and completes the rest of the puzzle. Ben Williamson is the best safe option there is. And Colt Emerson is the best upside play. That's why the Mariners were never going to actively seek third base help this offseason. That being said, this has been the Dom Skeen channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. Let me know if the quality of the camera, quality of the microphone were better today. I got a few technical upgrades, and I will see you guys soon with the Victor Robles video. Took me a while to research this Ben Williamson video, especially some of these stats, and I just wanted to make it as good as possible because this guy's become my favorite Mariner for what he does for the rest of the Mariners. Obviously, I love Julio and Cal and the pitchers and all of our stars, but what this guy does for the rest of the team is so underrated. And I wanted to encapsulate that and do it justice. I hope I did. If you think I did, please drop a like on the video. Please subscribe. Turn on notification bells so that you can see every new video I upload as soon as I upload it. I know I said I was going to get this video out earlier than I did. Said I was going to get it out on Monday. Now it's Wednesday, New Year's Eve. If you're watching this in the future, before the season, during the season, I do videos for every single game. And yeah, we're going to have Mariners content going all the time. We're going to go deeper into things. I'm not just going to publish a video every day at this point. No, I said I was going to publish a video every day this offseason. I'm not just going to publish a video every day at the expense of going deeper into Ben Williamson like this. So if you like this stuff, go ahead, hit the like button. Drop any comment you want. I'm not going to ask you guys a comment question anymore. I want you to ask me questions. And if I get enough comment questions, if I get like 10 questions, on this video, I will drop a video just responding to the comments. Thank you for all the support on the Cole Young breakdown. I will absolutely include some of those questions. If you have questions on Cole Young, on that breakdown, feel free to drop them here, drop them on that video. There's a whole lot more going on with the Mariners. There's going to be a fan fest at the end of this month. I plan to be asking Ben Williamson a few questions there about this profile, his goals, his approach. And, does he take pride in being that glue guy? He is the definition of a glue guy. You cannot really discount the value that type of presence brings. You can, but you can't if you're trying to win. Anyway, I apologize to you guys for getting this up a little late. It's been a week since I saw you guys with that Cole Young video. But here is the Ben Williamson breakdown. We'll be breaking down Victor Robles next, because I think he's another extremely underrated player on this team. But if there's anything else you would like me to cover, feel free to drop that in the comments as well. That being said, I will see you guys. Actually, I'm not sure when I'm going to see you guys. I'm going to need to put some time into this Victor Robles breakdown. At the very most, in a week. Victor Robles, I think it's a little more simple than Ben Williamson. I don't know if I'm going to find two new stats to describe Victor Robles with, but very well might. Anyway, I'll see you guys then. Go Ems.